This is Christina Jenny presenting the company analysis project. The company I chose for the company analysis presentation was Boston Scientific. Boston Scientific is dedicated to transforming lives through innovative medical solutions that improve the health of patients around the world. Boston Scientific Corporation was incorporated on June 22, 1979 in Watertown, Massachusetts. They are a developer, manufacturer, and marketer of medical devices that are used in a range of interventional medical specialties. They develop and manufacture products used in interventional cardiology, cardiac rhythm management, endoscopy, peripheral interventions, urology and pelvic health, neuromodulation, and electrophysiology. It operates through three segments: cardiovascular, rhythm management, and med-surg. Here is the 3-year percentage change analysis along with their key financial statement values. So as you can see, over the 3 years, revenue has increased. The 3-year change was about 17% change in a positive direction. So even though it hasn't jumped quite a bit, it has grown steadily. Their cost of goods sold have increased, but not significantly, 15%. Just on the edge of 16% there. Their gross profit has increased 17% about. Their operating expenses have grown as well, but not significantly, which means that they are keeping their operating expenses down in comparison to their other growth numbers. Their operating profit did jump significantly from 2016 to 2018 with a 236% change. Their net profit also had a huge jump, growing about 381% over the course of 3 years. Their current assets have also increased, along with their total assets. And their current liabilities have also increased. And their owner's equity, it looks like they put some equity into the company with a growth of about 30% over the course of 3 years. So all in all, it looks like they are growing in all the places that they should be. Their net profit has increased. Their operating profit has increased significantly. Their revenue has increased. Even though their cost of goods sold and their operating expenses have increased, it's not as nearly as much as in comparison to their profitability margins. So here you can see Boston Scientific has some really high profitability margins. In 2016, 71%, 2017, also about 71%, and the same for 2018. In comparison, though, their operating margins are not that high, with 2016 only at about 5%, 2017 at 14%, and then 2018 at 15%. This might mean that in comparison to their competitors, they're not necessarily achieving their competitive advantage. And that shows also as well as in their net margin. Other companies might be producing similar products at similar price points that, they might not be using the best strategy to get customers to purchase their products. Their net margins were pretty low in 2016 at 4%, and then very low in 2017, and then they have a big jump at about 17% in 2018. So 2016 and 2017 are pretty troubling, but 2018, there does seem to be some significant growth there. Their return on assets, once again, 2016, 2017 were not great years for return on assets, meaning they're not using their assets to generate profit. But in 2018, it is growing to about a healthy, 8%. Similar with their return on equity, not great for 2016 or 2017, but it does look like they invested in 2018 and they are using their equity to make more profits for their shareholders. Their efficiency ratios, days in inventory, 2016, 142, and 2017, 153, 2018, edging up a little bit, still at 154. Their collection periods are dropping slightly. That's a good sign. Their payment periods also drop slightly, so they might be paying their bills too quickly. They might be able to rework some of their payment periods with their vendors or suppliers to maybe keep some cash in the business a little bit longer. Their cash collection cycle is also going up over the course of the 3 years. And their inventory turnover is roughly the same over the 3 years, 2.46 2016, 2.55 2017, and then 2.51 in 2018. So liquidity and leverage ratios. Their current ratios are dropping over the course of 3 years. A dip in the middle there with the 2017, and then edging up a little bit in 2018. And along with their quick ratios, might signal that they have too much money tied up in non-current assets like plant, property, and equipment, and inventory. For their leverage ratios, their debt to equity is going down, which is good. Anything below 1 is a good sign. It might be because they've put some more equity into the company recently, which was shown on the key financial statement values. And then their interest coverage is very good. And that's grown healthily over the past 3 years to now 2018 with 6.33. So in comparison to their competition, their competitors are Johnson & Johnson and Medtronic. They all make similar products for med-surg and cardiac rhythm, interventional medicine. So their gross margins are all pretty much the same. Boston Scientific actually has higher gross margins, but both of the competitors, Johnson & Johnson, as you can see here, and then Medtronic, do have about some higher operating margins than Boston Scientific. So they might be, appealing to their customers a little bit more and using their strategy and competitive advantage better than Boston Scientific is. Their net margins are, Johnson & Johnson has some higher net margins, and Medtronic doesn't have significantly higher or lower net margins than Boston Scientific. The return on assets about the same. Johnson & Johnson does have a little bit higher. Medtronic is about similar to Boston Scientific. And then return on equity, Johnson & Johnson is definitely higher returns on equity than Boston Scientific, and Medtronic is similar. So yes to invest. While Boston Scientific has demonstrated strong growth in key financial statement values over the course of 3 years, particularly their operating profit with a 235% increase and net profit at 381%, their operating expenses have been kept fairly low, and their revenue, assets, and owner's equity continue to increase. While gross margins are consistently high, their operating and net margins are not in comparison, which could be a red flag. Their days in inventory are increasing slightly, and they are taking longer to turn their products into cash. Their payment period has also decreased, meaning they might be paying the bills too quickly. They have a great interest coverage ratio, and their debt is decreasing steadily. They might have too much money tied up in inventory and non-cash assets, though, which is shown through the quick and current ratios. So right now, I would say no to investing in Boston Scientific. I think it would be good for them to demonstrate some growth in their operating profit margins, and to maybe rework some of their efficiency ratios before investing. If it was really important for the company to make a decision to invest in one of these companies out of the 3 companies that I presented, Johnson & Johnson, Medtronic, and Boston Scientific, I would say Johnson & Johnson is probably the company to go with right now. Boston Scientific does have steady growth, though, with their key financial statement values. So maybe in the future, it's something to come back to and look at again to do another comparison and to see where they stand. So my references, and thank you very much for viewing.